Welcome back. Are rising tensions around the world having an impact on military recruitment here at home? Last month, President Trump ordered a barrage of missiles on the Syrian airbase after the Assad government used chemical weapons on civilians. Now, the president is saying the U.S. may have to do something about North Korea as the rogue nation continues testing ballistic missiles that might one day be able to reach the west coast of the U.S. Meanwhile, the U.S. continues to support Iraqi forces in the fight for Mosul, and the war in Afghanistan has been going on since 2001. Last year, the Army announced it expected to barely meet its goal of recruiting 62,000 new soldiers. So is this year, are they looking locally? Joining us for more tonight is Sergeant in First Class Jeffrey Garner of the U.S. Army Recruiting Center in Sarasota, and Justin Rains, a U.S. Army recruit who will be going to boot camp in Oklahoma later this month. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is very exciting. But Sergeant, let me start with you because as I mentioned when we set up the story, you know, I remember during the Iraq War, the Army and the other branches of the service were having a tough time meeting its quotas. When did that start to turn around?
You know, I really can't speak on that. I would say that I've been in recruiting now for about 8.5 years, and when I was a recruiter in Michigan, it was a little tougher. But here in Sarasota, there's a great community that supports the military, and I've noticed that it hasn't really had an impact locally on recruiting efforts.
Jeffrey, you said that you first started thinking about joining the military, signing up when you were a freshman in high school?
Correct. Yeah.
How did that evolve, just for people to know? Because I would imagine, you know, it's one thing to have an interest, you know, yourself. It's another thing to sell it to your parents and
right.
your friends. What kind of thought process did you go through?
Okay, so at first, I kind of backed off from the idea just because I looked at the people that surrounded me, and it's not what they were wanting to do. But I got to thinking, and no matter what I tried to do to kind of make myself happy, I was never happy. So one day I decided to go into the recruiting office because I sat down, thought, and said, the one thing I haven't gone back to is wanting to be in the military. So from the second I stepped into the office, I was just filled with happiness.
Was it always the Army?
No. Okay, so I had this friend, she went into the Navy. And at first I was looking for like a Navy recruiting center because I wanted to join her, kind of follow. But the closest recruiting center to me was his office. So I go in looking for a Navy, and there isn't a Navy one around. And they offered to give me information and an application, so I did that.
Location.
Right.
And you know, if the Navy recruiting station was closer, we may be having a different conversation
Possibly.
right now. Let me ask you both this question, because at times like we have now, where there are rising tensions, whether it's in the Middle East or with North Korea, I would imagine it could have two different kinds of impacts. In the aftermath of 9/11, the military had an infusion of people signing up because, for all the obvious reasons, that it struck us so personally and so severely. People wanted to defend the nation. But at times like this, when the tensions and the dangers are more spread out, I would imagine that either people, again, will want to serve their nation when they see these potential conflicts, or just take a wait-and-see approach.
I haven't noticed that really at this level. I feel like most people still make the decision to join the military, join the Army, for a lot of the same reasons that they've done for hundreds of years now. You know, service to country, their patriotic tradition. They may have family members that have served. You know, the career enhancement, the opportunities for, you know, education, the financial security and stability that the Army provides people. Those are all still really important reasons that people make the decision to join the Army.
And I want to get into all those different reasons in our next block. But first, let me ask you, Jeffrey, what role did all these things in terms of help with education play in your joining the Army, or was it, as you said, for other reasons?
It was other reasons, just personal. I really feel like I need to protect my family, and I'm not going to protect my family being at a Fortune 500 company. And the military makes me happy, so I can make myself happy while protecting the people I love.
What do you aspire to as your specialty?
I'm going to be an intelligence analyst.
And what kind of process do you have to go through? You have to be trained just like everybody else in terms of boot camp and so forth?
Yes, yeah. A basic training is going to be exactly the same as like an infantryman or a doctor. But after that, I will be going to Fort Huachuca in Arizona for 17 weeks to specifically train on what my job will entail.
And I called you Jeffrey, it's Justin.
Yes.
I apologize, I transposed the names. We are just getting in started with our conversation. We will pick up the conversation right after we check the weather, so stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing U.S. military involvement abroad and enlistment here on the Suncoast. Our guests tonight are Sergeant First Class Jeffrey Garner of the U.S. Army Recruiting Center in Sarasota and Justin Raines, a Army recruit preparing to go to boot camp later this month. Sergeant, let me start with you because one of the interesting things that the Army has said is as our economy improves, it makes your job as a recruiter more difficult, if you could explain.
Sure, it does. Plays an impact because people look to the Army for financial security and stability. It's a career choice. So when there's more career opportunities, people have more to choose from. They might not choose the Army. But locally, I don't see that as much because there seems to be more of a service industry area. So we still have a lot of high school seniors come in regularly looking for an opportunity to leave, get out of this area, and start a career.
The other thing that I found fascinating in a report by the Army, and this is difficult stuff, is that there has been a decline in high school graduation rates and increasing obesity levels among young people, and it's challenging the Army to strategically deal with these changing social issues. How difficult is that for you to deal with?
It plays a role. It's not very difficult, but it does definitely require us to be a little bit smarter about where we go, to talk to people about the Army, and just make sure that we're more strategic about it and that we use certain methods to try to find the quality.
I would imagine that you are sometimes in the position that you have to say no.
Definitely, yeah. There's definitely people that are not qualified to join the Army. We get that quite a bit. People come into the office, they have a lot of issues. There's still a perception out there that the Army is one of those places where you can come and join if you have a lot of problems in your past as far as moral issues, and that's just not the case. We're looking for qualified, quality people to join the Army, to fill the ranks.
And there are things that are fixable, some things that are not.
Right, definitely. Some young people, they are struggling with being overweight and not meeting our height and weight standards. We always give them suggestions, point them in the right direction, show them, where they are and what they need to do to get to where they will meet the standard. And, sometimes we have some success stories where people actually go lose 50, 60 pounds and come back and we put them in the Army.
Right. Justin, what do you hope to get out of this? Obviously, what you want to do is a fascinating area, an interesting area, but in terms of your long-term goals, do you hope to make it a career in the military, or is this a means to an end?
I plan on staying at least 20 years. After my first year, to see how I like it, I'm wanting to go into the Rangers to do something with intel for them. But I don't see the point in doing 4 or 5 years and just dropping out. One, because when you do 20 years, you receive your full pension, and that's for the rest of your life. Me, I'm 19, and if I do 20 years right now, I'm going to be 49 when I retire. And most people cannot say that they retire at 49.
Right. And Sergeant, let me ask you this. What kind of either obstacle or challenge is it for you? Because we are dealing with a lot of men and women who are leaving the military after their deployment in Iraq and Afghanistan, and they hear all the problems about the Veterans Administration and the length of time it takes to get care and their ability to deal with the issues. In some ways, does that work against your job in terms of getting people to come into the military? Do you have to have special discussions with either the young men and women or their families about that?
Sometimes it's a topic that comes up during the discussion. You know, a lot of people are using different, you know, experiences, and Sarasota has an amazing veterans community. It's got a very large veterans community. So my experience has been that that's been a very positive thing, that the majority of those veterans have been able to share their positive experiences with their military service, and it just outweighs the negatives.
We sometimes treat our soldiers and those coming in better than we do in terms of when they leave and the benefits out there. And I know that the government is working very, very hard on that. So what is your next step, and what are you doing over the next month to prepare for this? And what do you think when you turn on the TV or watch the news and you see what is happening either in Syria or North Korea in terms of whether or not eventually that could impact you?
My next step is basically what I'm doing right now currently. Is I'm just working out a lot. Even though I've taken the ASVAB and received a very decent score, I'm still studying because I don't think that knowledge should be lost. I think you should keep studying and learn more as you grow old. And yeah.
And of course, Sergeant, some young men and women don't just join the military because, like Justin, who wants to be in it for 20 years. It is a means to an end in terms of ways to get their education. What benefits are out there, just so people know, because I would imagine in this day and age, especially with the economy the way it was, they do need help if they want to pursue a college degree later.
There's a lot of incentives right now, and some of those come in the form of just cash enlistment bonuses, which are up to $40,000 for certain military occupation specialties. We also have student loan repayments come back, and they can pay up to $65,000 in student loans that have already been obtained through your education on your own. But we also have tuition assistance that gives you $4,000 a year to pay towards school. But if you do 3 years on active duty, this is probably the jaw dropper of education VA benefits that we have right now. If you do 3 years on active duty, you qualify for 100% of the post 9/11 GI Bill, which will pay up to 100% of your tuition costs, paid up to the most expensive public university or college in the state that you return back to. But you also receive a housing allowance while you're a full-time student. And for like this area, it would be around $1,600 a month you would receive to pay for your housing needs while you're a full-time student. Just makes it a lot easier for you to go to school.
You know, currently the president is talking about expanding the military, adding more, you know, both personnel and equipment. The question would become is if you are, you know, ordered to increase recruitment, I mean, you can't just make people up. So, A, how do you go about it? And number two, are you concerned that there may be pressures to recruit young men and women, and there is a finite amount of people who might be interested and willing to sign up?
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen a mission increase. It's happening. We know it's coming, so we're already starting to prepare for it. There is a finite amount of people that qualify. We're always targeting 17 to 24 years old. That's pretty much our demographic that we're looking for. Those are usually the ones that, you know, are looking for that career enhancement or the opportunities for education. The incentives are there. The opportunities are there. So it makes it a little easier for us when they are opening up so many doors when it comes to the incentives right now.
And Justin, what kind of feedback do you get from your friends? I mean, how many of your friends are considering signing up, whether it's with the Army or the other branches of the service? What kind of, you know, what do you say to them if they ask you about this?
They all support me. I've actually convinced one of my friends to go into the office. She filled out an application, and she's waiting for a job to open up for her, the one that she specifically wants. And then I have another friend, she just joined the Navy. Yeah, everyone, they're really happy with my choice, really proud of me. That's about it, I guess.
And we're proud of you as well, and we wish you the best of luck. Sergeant, right now, in terms of the number, I know you track these things month to month. Have you seen an uptick in terms of, especially during graduation season, in terms of the numbers of people who are interested?
We're coming into a time where, you know, a lot of young people that are getting ready to graduate high school haven't made any future plans, and they're going to start looking for opportunities, and one of those will be the Army. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Let's take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests, so stay with us. Welcome back. How will the Trump administration impact military enlistment going forward? What can we learn from the men and women who are signing up right now? Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. So, Justin, what do you want people to know about why you became interested in enlisting into the military, and whether or not world events are having any impact in terms of your choice?
I personally like to not sit back and watch people do things. I like to do it myself. That way I know it's getting done in a proficient manner. So that's one reason why people like me would want to think about joining the forces. And if you're even questioning it, it does not hurt to like go into the office, check it out, and see if it's for you or not. I've seen people come in there before and that same day come back with an application filled out and want to join, but I've also seen other people come in and decide it's not really for them. So it doesn't help to get information.
Right. So, Sergeant, how are you gearing up for what the orders are going to be in terms of increasing the size of our military, and what tools or weapons do you have at your disposal to make that happen?
Well, I'm very lucky to have an amazing group of non-commissioned officers that are in my center. They take their mission very seriously. They work very hard. They're always going to make mission. We're not ones to fail. That's non-commissioned officers never fail. So we're going to do whatever it takes, with integrity and the highest of standards. And we're going to go out there, and what we like to say sometimes is just beat the streets until we find and talk to as many people as we can that would be interested in possibly joining the Army.
And there are a couple of different tracks even within the Army. I would imagine that some people just want to join the service as an enlisted a person. The other, others want to go towards officer training.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do that as well in our office. We sign people up for officer candidate school. We put them through the process, which is a little bit lengthier than just an enlistment. I encourage anyone who wants to get information about being in the enlisted side or the officer side to come in. It never hurts to get information so you're making an informed decision.
All right, we have to leave it there, and I wish you the best of luck. Thanks for being here tonight, Sergeant First Class. Jeffrey Gardner is a recruiter at the U.S. Army in Sarasota, and Justin Raines is leaving for boot camp in Oklahoma later this month. We wish you all the luck.